Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Glad you all came out, even in spite of the virus where everyone's trying to stay in the house. Appreciate you all coming. I am Tisha Houston. I'm the mother of Joel Houston. That's Mr. Charles Houston.
Hello.
We're glad that you all came out. If you don't mind, please make sure your cell phones are on silent. And let me introduce Joel before he comes up. He is, as many of you know, he is a student, he's a scholar, he calls himself a philosopher. He gave me this whole thing that I'm supposed to say, but you know what, let me just get to the point, because his bio is right there in the book. Those of you who have ordered the book already, hopefully he has already given it to you. If not, he has it on hold for you. You can get it later. Those of you who would like to purchase a book, I think we have about, 8 more in the back? 8 or 9 more in the back, so if you'd like to purchase a book, you can. But anyhow, Joel is a avid reader. He loves learning. He has been able to maintain his 4.0 grade average for a couple of years now, even in spite of the fact of going back and forth to Charlotte, because he also loves soccer, going back and forth to Charlotte to participate in the soccer program there. He's still been able to maintain his grade point average, so we're very, very proud of him. He loves studying, he loves music, he loves art. I don't know if you all know, he's an artist, he draws, and he is one kid who, since he was the age of 4, sat and drew like crazy. Since the age of 6, you couldn't catch him without a pen or a marker in his hand. At one point we had to ban all markers when he was really young. I should have seen it coming because he was right all over the walls. This is the kid who, out of 5, he's the one who I gained 75 pounds just to bring him forth. He ended up weighing almost 10 pounds. That wasn't enough for the 75 pounds he put on me, but 10 pounds, he came out, and he still loves to eat even today. This is also the kid, it's not a surprise to me that he loves poetry, and in particular Shakespeare. It's not a surprise to me. I should have known that when I had the experience of him at the age of 3 playing around with words. So at the age of 3, so we've been homeschooling for 20 years, and Joel was homeschooling until we put him in high school. And I'm sitting there homeschooling the other children. Joel was 3, so he was, wanting to join in. But he had this habit of calling names. He was the little bad kid out of all the 5. So he used to call his brother stupid head, and I had to tell him, you do not call names. And so at the age of 3, little toddler, he wanted to play around with words to figure out how he can get around calling him a stupid head without actually calling him a stupid head. So when I said, do not call your brother a stupid head, do not use those words. Well, can I call him a poopy head? No, you can't call him a poopy head either. Can I call him a croupy head? No, you cannot call him a croupy head. That's not even a word. Don't call him that. Do not call names. He sat silently, and then he came up with, groupie head is a word. So even as a child, he loved words and would play around with words. So I am very proud to introduce to you the kid who weighed 10 pounds, the baby who weighed 10 pounds, who played around with words, who is obsessed with anything that he takes his hand to, anything, including soccer. This is also the kid who, at the age of 9, went to play soccer with his brother. His brother was in high school at the time, and he was playing with high school kids. And he came back upset because I only scored 4 goals playing with these high school kids who've been playing CISA since they were 4 and 5. He came back scoring only 4 goals. He was pretty upset. So this is a kid who is obsessed with anything that he does. And so we're very, very proud to have him here today, obsessed with his love of Shakespeare, love of poetry, love of words, and love of music. We're very proud to have him here. We're going to allow these gentlemen to come on in and have a seat. There's some seats up here as well. While they're being seated, aren't these the soccer kids?
Oh, yes, ma'am.
Isn't it the soccer group? Oh, you guys just missed the soccer story. Oh, well. Come on over here. There's some seats there as well.
Sorry.
And then without further ado, I introduce to you Joel Houston.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good afternoon.
First, let me just say thank you for coming out today, taking the time out of your day to come out. None of you guys had to do this, so I really thank you. Several people from Ms. Schuler's class are here just for the extra credit, but thank you as well, still. And so today I'm thrilled to explain and welcome you to the American Griot experience. American Griot is a piece of artwork that I've been working on since September of 2019, and it's essentially split into two parts. So first you have the American Griot Anthology. So this is a magazine of 6 sonnets that I wrote and published with beautiful photography from Kim Gibson. Miss Kim, how you doing? Can you stand up? You wanna stand up? She's literally like the greatest photographer I've ever seen in my life. Like, greatest photographer in the world. I even say the universe. Greatest photographer in the universe. In the solar system. I went on Twitter yesterday and saw Kim Jong-un say, "We have the best photographer in the world." And I said, "No, you don't." I saw the pictures of your missiles. It was a disaster. But in all seriousness, though, thank you, Ms. Kim. So that's the first part. And that magazine's back there. You can buy it after the show's over. The second part is the American Griot experience, which you're about to experience today. So what I'm going to do for you today is explain the connection between Shakespeare and hip hop. Then I'm going to perform a sonnet. We'll have a discussion, perform, discussion, perform, discussion. And then I'll say the closing words, and you guys can go buy your magazine. So I was under the impression that some of you thought this was a play. Some of you thought it'd just be me up here speaking and the crowd just watching. Sadly for you, that's not the case. You guys will have to speak. This does not work without a crowd. So I just want everybody to experience the warm feelings in the room. Bring your ideas, your thoughts, comments, anything you have to say, whether it's positive or negative. This is an open floor for everybody, especially when we get to the discussion part. So what is a sonnet? There are many different forms of sonnets, but simply put, a sonnet is a 14-line poem with a formal rhyme scheme written completely in iambic pentameter with a couplet as the last 2 lines. So iambic pentameter, it's a meter which you write in. So an iamb is one unstressed syllable followed by a stressed syllable. So you do that 5 times, which is 10 syllables. You have iambic pentameter. So every single line, 10 syllables. So to give you an example, we'll just use Shakespeare's most famous sonnet, Sonnet 18. Just the first line. Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? Shall I compare thee to a summer's day? In this line, the word compare, pair is the stressed syllable. Compare. Can you guys hear that? Compare.
Yeah.
So pair is the stressed syllable. And the word summer, the first syllable, sum, is the stressed syllable. Summer, summer. So shall I compare thee to a summer's day? And that's how you get iambic pentameter. So some of you may be wondering why sonnets. Why did he choose to write sonnets? I know some high school students probably hate sonnets so much. And at one point I agreed with you guys because I'll never forget, actually the first time I tried to write a sonnet was in Ms. Schuler's class. And we just learned about it. Actually, she didn't even assign it because she knew it'd be too hard for us to do. But I went to the media center after the class was over. I told her I was gonna try to write one. I sat down for 1 hour, for a whole hour. And I wasn't even like distracted or anything. Like I wasn't on the computer listening to music. It was just pen and paper, me and my brain. 1 whole hour. I got down 2 lines. 2 lines, that was it. And it's not like, like I'm like 1 hour is enough time. It's not enough time. You know what I mean? Like you need more time to write a sonnet than 1 hour. So 2 lines in 1 hour. And after that, I was just like the rest of the students. Sonnets, forget about it. I didn't want to do sonnets. But that's part of the reason I like it so much. because of the challenge. In life, all I want to be is great, and how can you be great if you don't overcome challenges? So that's one reason I chose to write sonnets. The other is its connection to my favorite genre of music, which is hip hop. But before I explain that connection, I'm going to give you guys a quiz. This quiz and certain parts of the explanation are taken from a British rapper named Akala and his company, the Shakespeare Hip Hop Company. So basically, for this quiz, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to select a quote from either a hip hop song or from a Shakespeare play. And then I'm gonna say the quote twice. I'm gonna count to 3. And on the count of 3, I want the crowd to yell out either Shakespeare or hip hop. Now, if I count to 3 and I hear Shakespeare, when I get to 3, I need to hear all right, all the I need all that, all right? So just clarify, because I know some people are slow. I'm gonna say the quote. I'm gonna count to 3. On 3, the crowd's going to yell Shakespeare or hip hop. You guys got that? All right. Let's go with the first quote. To destroy the beauty from which one came. To destroy the beauty from which one came. 1, 2, 3. That sounded like a lot of Shakespeare. It sounded like a lot of Shakespeare. That is from a man named Sean Carter, otherwise known as Jay-Z. That's from a song called You Must Love Me, from his first album, The Life and Time of Sean Carter. It's harder than you think, isn't it? It's harder than you think. All right, let's go to the next one. Floutum and scoutum and floutum. Thought is free. Floutum and scoutum and floutum. Thought is free. 1, 2, 3. Shakespeare. I don't know, it sounded 50-50 again. That is from a man named William Shakespeare. That is from Shakespeare. From the play. Oh, that's from his play, The Tempest. All right, let's go to the next one. I was not born under a rhyming planet. I was not born under a rhyming planet. 1, 2, 3. Shakespeare. All right, you guys got that one right. Y'all must have read that. It was Shakespeare. From his play, Much Ado About Nothing. I was not born under a rhyming planet, nor can I determine, something like that. Basically what the character, Benedict, was saying was, he was not born to be a poet, and he cannot woo ladies with words. You know what I'm saying? I'm the exact opposite. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, let's go to the next one. Okay. Maybe it's hatred I spew, maybe it's food for the spirit. Maybe it's hatred I spew, maybe it's food for the spirit. 1, 2, 3. Hip hop. Okay, y'all got that hip hop. Okay, that is from a man named Marshall Mathers, otherwise known as Eminem, from his song with Jay-Z called Renegade. If I see any students do the Renegade dance, you'll be thrown out. Stop. Interestingly enough, in the same song, in a different verse, the same song, Eminem says, "See, I'm a poet to some, a regular modern day Shakespeare." I thought that was just an interesting connection between those two songs. We'll go for two more. The most, how did I forget that one? Okay, let's go to the next one. Look how unique that my mystique is a round of applause, and yours equally valued. Look how unique that my mystique is a round of applause, and yours equally valued. 1, 2, 3. Hip hop. Okay, Yeah, that is from a man named Kendrick Lamar. That's my favorite rapper. That line refers to the humanist philosophy that the uniqueness and originality of every person it doesn't have a price to it. It's the most important thing in the world. That's why I like that line. And Kendrick Lamar was kind of my, not introduction to hip hop, because I obviously listened to rap songs before him, but his 2015 album, To Pimp a Butterfly, was really what got me to study and learn the history of rap music. I was only 12 years old when that album came out, and it really had a heavy impact on me. It was a very political rap album, and it contained elements of jazz, funk, spoken word poetry, soul music. And at that age, I was so mesmerized by Kendrick's ability to explain complex ideas through the use of rhythm and meter. So a year later, when I went into high school as a freshman, because I was a freshman when I was 13, I skipped a grade. A year later, when I went into high school, and I sat in Ms. Vernon's class learning about sonnets, again, I was mesmerized when I found how Shakespeare was able to he took two characters in Romeo and Juliet, and from their speech created a sonnet. So it wasn't even just a poem, but two characters speaking to each other in the form of a sonnet. And that really blew my mind as a kid, that you have the ability to create something that evokes not only emotion, but takes so much skill. It's all about the skill. So Shakespeare and hip hop are connected because they're able to explain complex ideas and relay philosophies and intelligence through the use of rhythm and meter and rhyme as well. So the word hip hop even means intelligent movement. The word hip comes from a Senegalese language called Wolof, taken from the word hippie, which means to open one's eyes and see. It's used as a term of enlightenment. The word hop is taken from the English language, signifying movement. Thus, hip hop means intelligent movement. So, according to the founding fathers of hip hop in New York, there are 5 elements to hip hop: MCing, DJing, breakdancing, graffiti, and knowledge. And that first and last element is what I'm going to focus on during this explanation. So MCing refers to rapping. If you don't have a beat and you're MCing, you're just rapping. You're basically just doing poetry. So you just take the beat away, you're just rapping. That's poetry. That's MCing. So when someone refers to themselves as an MC, it stands for Master of Ceremony, because back in the day what used to happen was you have the DJ on the turntables, breakdancers breakdancing, and then the MC controlling the whole ceremony with their rhymes. So that's the Master of Ceremony. So when someone refers to themselves as an MC, like MC Hammer or MC Shan, that's what they mean. But even the term MC has a deeper level. In fact, if we go back to 14th century West Africa and you look at the ancient empires of Mali, Ghana, those 2 empires, you will see a character the Malians refer to as the Griot. And what a Griot is a poet, artist, a musician, storyteller, historian, basically just keepers and custodians of art and culture. These griots still exist in Africa today, and I myself am an American griot.
All right, man.
Interestingly enough, Shakespeare also has a title which he refers to himself as, the Bard. And in medieval British and Gaelic culture, a bard was the equivalent of a griot. A bard is essentially just a European griot, just a different place. So when you understand the history and you understand how a griot is the equivalent of a bard, and an MC is a griot, and Shakespeare is a bard, you can clearly see the connections between Shakespeare and hip hop.
All right, now.
So now we have 2 things that I like, Shakespeare and hip hop and how they connect. As far as the art goes, one thing in particular that they share in the poetry is what I mean, in sonnets and the raps, is the use of iambic pentameter. Now this can be used intentionally or unintentionally. That's the meter that humans speak in the most, and we don't even know it, iambic pentameter. So, for example, in 2016, Jaden Smith, Will Smith's son, he released a song called Blue, which is a 12-minute song split into 4 parts. So it's B-L-U-E. And in that song, the first verse opens with a sonnet written in iambic pentameter, and he did that as a homage to Shakespeare, which back then I thought that was really unique. And the song is phenomenal. You guys should really check it out. But so that's when it's used intentionally. But however, my favorite connection shared between the two arts is the use of couplets. So 2 lines connected by a single rhyme, all written in 1 meter. Perfection. Couplets are just a great way to get something across. It's 2 lines and it's all packed together, and the rhyme, if it's done right, should really make you feel something in your soul. Couplets are usually used in hip hop as punchline lyrics. So the rapper will set something up, and then in the next lyric, they'll give you the punchline. So that's how it's usually used in hip hop. For example, in 1991, one of the greatest rappers of all time, Nas, who was 18 years old at this time, made a verse completely out of couplets. So the verse, there's a verse, and it was couplet, 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 couplet. That's how the whole verse went in the song. Live at the Barbecue, that's what the song was called. So obviously I can't say all the explicit lyrics up here, but I'll just take 2 lines.
I appreciate that.
Let's see. What's that one?
Just don't say any curse words.
All right, I got you. Verbal assassin, my architect pleases. When I was 12, I went to hell for snuffing Jesus. So for those of you that don't know, to snuff somebody is to punch somebody. So verbal assassin, my architect pleases. Y'all done? Yeah. See, y'all not even ready for the minute. Verbal assassin, my architect pleases. Verbal assassin. So he uses words. He's so good at rapping. He uses words to kill people. Verbal assassin, my architect pleases. His architect pleases. His structure of his verse and his raps please the audience. Verbal assassin, my architect pleases. When I was 12, I went to hell for snuffing Jesus. And just to say something like that, especially back then, was yeah. But he's just explaining how good at rapping he is and how bad he is, which back then that's what you do. You talk about how good at rapping you are. So verbal assassin, my architect pleases. When I was 12, I went to hell for snuffing Jesus. Another one, I melt mics till the sound waves over. Before stepping to me, you rather step to Jehovah. I melt mics. He's literally spitting hot fire. He's literally spitting hot fire. I melt mics till the sound waves over. He spits hot fire into the mic. The mic gives off sound waves. He melts mics till the sound waves over. He's so bad that before you step to him, you better step to Jesus. You better not even step to Nas. Don't even think about that. I melt mics till the sound waves over. Before stepping to me, you rather step to Jehovah. So obviously, some couplets can be used to explain more than just how bad you are or how good you are at rapping, especially in love. So, for example, in Shakespeare's Sonnet 18, again, Sonnet 18, yeah, there we go. That's how it goes. But I'll get back to that later. So it can be used to express more than just how good you are, bad at rapping you are. And I usually write my sonnets in reverse, actually. I start with the couplet, and then I go back and I fill in the rest. Because the couplet is the easiest part to write. The rest is the extreme challenge. And today I want to show you the conquering of that challenge by my performance of sonnet number 1, or Take Me to Zion. So this sonnet is about my fear of failure. In my mind, there's a lot of uncertainty and confusion about my future. Over the past 3 years, some events have happened that have led me to believe I can't fulfill the high aspirations I set myself. I hold myself to a high standard. I want to achieve everything that I can possible. So without further ado, here's taking this on. Take me to Zion, where assurance lives, where I can find the truth within my faith. Or visit the outlook we had as kids. Those sunny, sweet days I produced were great. For information of this place, I kill. As Zion's wisdom could put me at rest, my zeal unmatched for Zion to be real. This sacred place could free me of all stress. But my belief of Zion can't be true. Suppose my future holds unjust exploits. It may expose things I failed to pursue, still robbing all my pride like a dacoit. Curse this enigma, that which is my life. Pursuit of Zion, to desist the strife. Now, it's time to open up the floor. So, give me your thoughts, comments, anything that you liked or disliked from that sonnet. Go ahead, just raise your hand. Anything.
Where did most of your inspiration come when you wrote that?
This sonnet, interestingly enough, I drew inspiration from Lauryn Hill. She has a song called To Zion, which she uses Zion as a metaphor in that song for the same thing I am, but also her son's name is Zion. She just had him when she made that song. So she dedicated her song to Zion, to her son Zion, but also as a metaphor. So when I was writing this sonnet, I initially had it as take me to a place, and it wasn't fitting in the meter of iambic pentameter. So I was thinking, what could I use to represent as the place? And then that's when it hit me, I could use Zion. So the great artist, Lauryn Hill, inspired me for that sonnet. Julie? A dacoit is, during the Vietnam War, dacoits, at least I think it was during, Ms. Bryan, do you know anything about dacoits?
No, it's fine. Vietnam sounds right. We'll go with
Okay,
that.
so I'm pretty sure during the Vietnam War, I wrote this a while ago, so don't blame me for this. During the Vietnam War, a dacoit they were bandits that would rob stuff from other troops' supplies. That's what dacoits do. So still robbing all my pride like a dacoit. That was a simile that I had to use to fit that inside the meter. I'm telling you, it's hard to write an iambic pentameter. So when you see all these weird references, it's because it has to fit into the meter. I think I saw another hand over there. Jade?
I like how like it's just relatable right now. Like I feel like at the end of like high school or like whatever, it's hard to like it's hard to like think not think about the future and like worry about it. So it's like it's nice to see like it's someone else.
I like to act like I have everything together on the outside, but in my mind, I know it's not all together as it should be. But even then, you still have to think that everything happens for a reason. You know, that you can never just put your head down and just give up. Anything else?
I just really appreciate the hearing you speak it, and the way you spoke it with such varied emotions is in such a way that it's these universal emotions that we can all relate to. We're all familiar with them, even though we don't like to share them.
Yeah.
So I just think it's really
So you talked about having to kind of look for words that were expressing what you wanted to say, but that would fit. Did you ever find it like really frustrating, or was the challenge kind of part of the fun for you, or maybe both? Like, how often were you like, I wish I could just say what I wanted to say and not be hemmed in? That's something that play a factor.
It's both. It's all the time that it's frustrating, but it's also part of the challenge, because you can't have a sonnet without that. Like you can't have a sonnet without that. So it's frustrating. Like sometimes I'd be sitting there for a whole hour, just pure thought development. So I'm just writing stuff. I'm not even writing it in the lines, but I'm just checking words, see if it fits in the meter. A whole hour I don't even write lines. It's just thought development. So I just check if this word fits in the meter, check if that, it doesn't fit. So a whole hour I would sit there, check if it fit. All right, it doesn't fit, I'm going to sleep. I can't do this today. So I wake up the next day, try again. All right, it still doesn't work. Go to sleep. Next week, check if it fits. Oh, finally, I found something that fits. A decoy. What the heck is a decoy? It took me a week to find out what that is. So that's how it works. That's how it's frustrating, but that's also what's part of the fun, because you have to have the skill, you have to develop skill to be able to write inside of that meter. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Mr. Boris and then Mr.
I just thought it was brilliant the way you connected hip hop and Shakespeare. I would have never thought that there was a connection, but you broke it down so brilliantly and explained that really hip hop is nothing new. Actually,
Yeah.
it's been around, we just call it differently, and then the history of hip hop and all that was very enlightening. So
Thank you.
I appreciate that.
Hip hop is it's just poetry. That's all it is. Just speaking. Ms. Schuler?
Well, I wanted to address your writing process. You said you start with the couplets.
Not every single time, but sometimes.
Okay, well, so with this last one, did you start with the couplet for the last one?
Yeah, I think so.
How do you approach the quatrains in the writing of the three quatrains?
Well, this is how it's done. Well, you want?
Do you think of like certain subjects or themes that you want to go in each of the divisions? And then kind of go.
Yeah, I got you.
go from
So
there?
the writing process, it took me a while to develop this, because you would think you could just sit there and just start writing each line. First line, second line, third. That's not how it works. It's too complicated for that. So you have to break it down to where you can understand it. And it's different for every person, but for me, the way I can understand it, the couplet, my favorite part, is what summarizes the entire sonnet. So I would come up with an abstract. Excuse me. So I would come up with an abstract where I would just write what the sonnet is about, write what I'm feeling out. And then I would write the couplet, because it's the easiest rhyme to come up with, because they're both the same rhyme. They don't alternate. So I come up with a couplet, and then I would go all the way back to the beginning. And I would write alternating lines so that they would fit in the rhyme scheme. Usually, the rhyme scheme for a quatrain is A, B, A, B. So I would write it alternating. So I'll write A, A, and I would go back and fill it in B, B, so that it's easier to write the rhyme. So I'll write the couplet, A, B, B, and I would do C, C, D, D. And then when it's all formed fully together, then I have the full entire song. So that's how it goes. And I would choose words. I would come up with words like, I would come up with a line not written in iambic pentameter, so I would know what I wanted to say in the line. And I would take the last word, and if it's really important, I would keep it, so I know that's the rhyme. And I would go back and write the rest of the line in iambic pentameter. So that was the process.
Very good.
John.
So you said your inspiration came from a lady who had a son named Zion. So
Yeah.
why is the name Zion important?
Well, this one I'm about to explain. The extended metaphor throughout the sonnet is the use of the word Zion. So what Zion represents is the biblical city of Jerusalem. Zion is inside of Jerusalem. So Jerusalem is to be known as where God dwells. That's where he dwells, and that's the paradise, essentially. So my belief is that if I can find Zion, I can find peace of mind. Zion is not, for me in the sonnet, Zion is not just a physical location. It's peace of mind. I'm trying to find peace of mind. So when I say take me to Zion, I'm saying take me to a place where I can find peace of mind. So where do I get this peace of mind? My belief is that it comes from knowledge. The more knowledge I gain, the more peace of mind I can have. But if you read sonnet number 4, which you have to buy the magazine to read, if you read sonnet 4, you'll see that finding knowledge doesn't always bring you peace of mind. Finding knowledge can actually bring you turmoil, because knowledge is infinite. If you have too much knowledge or too many sources, then you can get confused, and next thing you know, downward spiral. But so Zion is an extended metaphor for peace of mind. I have all these conflicting thoughts in my head. I'm saying, I kill to find Zion. It could free me of all stress. I need this peace of mind. But yeah, any more comments before we move on? All right. So the next sonnet, sonnet 3, Regulators, is about the murder of Tatiana Jefferson. So for those of you that don't know, Tatiana Jefferson was a 27-year-old African-American woman. She was a medic student, and she was killed in October of 2019. She was at home playing video games with her nephew and in Fort Worth, Texas, and her screen door was open because it's hot outside in Texas. So screen door is open. Her neighbor sees that. He calls the police to do a wellness check, just to check up if everything is okay, because he thought it was weird that the door was open late at night. So the police comes, and he has a surveillance camera on his chest, so the video is on YouTube. Police comes, looks inside the screen door, walks to the side of the house, looks inside the window, shoots out the window, kills her right in front of her 6-year-old nephew. So it was a struggle for me to write this, not only because of the subject, because of the content matter, but because of the subject, police brutality. For me, I hate cliches. And as a Black poet, I think it's cliche to write poems about police brutality. I competed last year in the NAACP poetry competition that I won. And I won the competition. But the amount of police brutality poems that I saw was like insane. Like I was like, okay, another one. Oh, watch this. Police brutality poem. I knew it. But don't take that hate for cliches to hate for police brutality poems, because I understand that the spreading of awareness and that these poems keep on being written, these songs keep on being made, and these statements made is paramount to finding a solution for overcoming the struggle. So, without further ado, here is sonnet number 3, Regulators. The past repeats, like those songs stuck inside your head. The same way it kills and it wrecks my brothers, sisters, dead. A wellness check caused her death. On the house side, he did glide, then show me your hands! Blam! As blood seeped into the floor, and her nephew could not blink. Is killing us regulation? Think, are our lives meant to meet a dead end? What lies behind this question? Imagine yourself upon the olden Nile. The thought of future slaves' great wisdom warns for the alarm. You kill our brothers fast, not fast enough. Our brothers' souls live on. This sense within us, vengeance does grow strong. The floor is open. Give me your thoughts, comments, anything you liked or even didn't like about something. John.
I really appreciated the emotion that you showed for this one, with hand gestures and stuff. I thought the emotion really helped it out, bring the words to life.
I like this one because like, I don't know, like as like a black like kid, like it's hard to talk about, and it's like, especially being like I guess majority white people, but it's not a lot of minorities. And it's like you don't get to like, you don't get to feel like this. So like to have an outlet like to write is like really important.
Yeah, I understand what you mean because sometimes it goes in the back of your head. You know, like every day, like this stuff happens. Like people die every day over this type of stuff. Sometimes it goes in the back of your head because of the environment that you're surrounded in. And that's what I mean by it's paramount that we're still spreading awareness through the use of these poems. So yeah.
Yeah, I appreciate you bringing attention to this situation that has occurred. You know, when things happen like that, it happens, it goes out, it's there, and then it dies away. So my question to you, do you have plans to promote this more, give it to the family, get it in newspaper, something that?
Promote the sonnet or like?
Your sonnet, this one that
This
you
one.
have, I know it's in your magazine, but in efforts to share with the family, to let the family know that this, you know, you have written this tribute to their child, to the nephew, to this whole situation?
Well, as part of, as a member of the NAACP, their community magazine, I've been featured in that before. And I know the head director of this county's NAACP. Actually, I'll be competing again in that same competition this year. So I'm gonna try to get this published inside of that magazine if I can, and I'll definitely try to reach out to the Jeffersons and make sure that they see the songs. Robert?
Yeah, you know what, I love the line, are our lives, think are our lives purpose to be a dead end, because it made me think about how some roads have forks in them, some roads say no through traffic, and some, you know, you have to do these 3-point turns, but you're speaking as if there are no 3-point turns to turn around. This is just it, and I love that. Yeah, okay.
Our lives meant to meet a dead end. That's not only a metaphor, but also a double entendre, because dead end, you're stuck with no place to go, but also because you die, so, yeah.
How long did it take you to write that one?
This one took me the longest. This one probably took me a total of like 5 weeks. 5 weeks to write this because I was trying to come up with like I said, I hate cliches, so I was trying to come up with a unique way to write this. So it's already in a sonnet, and I haven't seen any police brutality poems in sonnet, but I'm also like, I don't read poetry like all the time. Like, oh, look at this new. So that was already why it was unique to me, but that still wasn't enough for me. So I came up with the first part. It's basically split into 2 parts. First, it explains the Tatiana Jefferson's murder, and then it brings up the question, is killing us regulation, and then it goes into the second part. So the first part, I got that down after like 2 weeks. Yeah, basically 2 weeks. And it took me a while to get there, but I was able to do it. My initial idea was for this poem was to do alternating lines to show that the past repeats. So it would be like a cop pulls a person over, and then a slave owner catches up with like a runaway slave, and then says the next line like, "What are you doing out here at this time of night?" Or "Can you get out your driver's license registration?" So it's going to be like that originally. Then I had this idea about Tatiana Jefferson. So What was your question again, Jordan? I'm sorry.
How long did it take you to write it?
What?
How long did it take you to write it?
Okay, so the first part took me like 2 weeks, and then once I got the question, is killing us regulation, it took me a while to be able to come up with that idea for that part, so that's what took me the longest, yeah.
This is like one of my favorite of all, and it makes me cry, especially when you did the part about showing your hands. And nephew on the floor, excuse me. I had two questions, and one thing I'll also say besides that, there's a part where it says like, is it like a dead end? Remind me of Langston Hughes' poem, A Dream Deferred. And it dawned on me that the time between when he wrote that poem and the Negro speaks of rivers, when he was 10, and the age that you are now, and the time between, and still dealing with the same feelings of, is my life gonna dry up and be nothing? Even though I have all this promise and intelligence that I see and passion that comes from you. And I think out of my tears is the frustration as a mother. Like, you birth a child into the world, and it has so much promise, and how hard it is for you to reach your pinnacle, you know? The question I had is, what is vengeance for you within this poem? Why did you choose that word instead of retribution, or why is it vengeance?
I'm gonna explain that part like right before the end. I'm gonna explain that part right before the end. So,
Okay.
your next question?
Hold on, I'm sorry. I can't remember.
All right. Does anybody else have any?
I do have a question. Being that these are, as you described, you know, poetry and hip-hop being one of poetry and such music, do you play with any of this music, or do you work with any rappers or anyone?
I don't plan to put these exact sonnets in the music. I've obviously take the ideas, because all you have to do is put it over beats. So I obviously take the ideas, the exact lines, probably not. But as an avid artist, I believe art is essential to the development of mankind. So I try to create as much art as possible. So basically from when I was like 2 years old to when I was like 14, I was just drawing the whole time. And then I started writing poetry like around 13 years old. So I'm still drawing, but I picked up a new part. So it's poetry, so that's like from 14, I'm 16 right now. I'll probably continue to do this. I plan on writing books. But now I'm trying to pick up the musician side. My oldest brother is a musician and a Broadway performer. He lives in New York. He's a classically trained pianist. So he can help me a lot. I tried to teach myself piano over the summer, but it's really hard, like, not even over the summer actually, like a week before school started. It's really hard, like, trying to teach yourself piano while still like traveling all over Southeast playing soccer. And I still have 8 different classes I have to do homework for, and I have to write these impossible sonnets for senior project. So I'm trying to develop the music skill next so I can transmute this into music, so yeah.
I remember the question. Why don't you like cliches?
I was asking myself that exact same question this morning when I was reciting the lines, and I was like, do I really not like cliches? I was like, is somebody gonna point this out? But I had to ask myself, I was like, what if somebody says that and I actually do like cliches? I don't know.
Is it that, I was wondering when you said that, do you not like cliches because it desensitizes the subject matter? Because you said, I don't know, are there certain areas that
That's
are
what
more
I was trying to
sensitive
think
to the
of this
cliche?
morning. Like, because I was trying to think of cliches that I like, but then I just put it out of my mind. I was like, I'll just explain it when I get up there. So now I'm up here.
Okay.
So a cliche that I like, I can't come up with one still. I would probably just say, for lack of better terms, cliches to me are just corny. Like, that's what it is to me. That's for a lack of better words. But
they're not original,
Yeah.
so it's not really creative to use them.
Like one of my favorite pieces of fiction of all time is Kill Bill, the movie. And I love Kill Bill because of the rejection of the cliche that the women get saved by the knight in shining armor. Kill Bill, Beatrix, the man that has her kid, he tries to kill her.
Right.
And instead of being saved by some dude that goes to kill Bill, that was the dude's name. So instead of being saved by some knight in shining armor that goes to kill Bill, she goes and does it herself.
Right.
And that's one of the greatest pieces of fiction of all time to me. So that's a form of something that's not cliche. Like I can't come up with a cliche.
But there's so many the only reason why I thought about it is you were doing the parallels, and I don't keep going, from hip hop.
I keep talking.
Hip hop was full of cliches.
Yeah.
Like when you're talking about what Nas says about spitting on the mic and melting the mic or pumping yourself up. There are a whole bunch of cliches that, especially with classic hip hop, that are all throughout hip hop.
But
Does that bother you?
So you got people that can do cliches great and people that do cliches trash. So like from that era, from like the 90s era, I don't mind cliches. But like now in today's hip hop, like I don't listen to like a lot of artists today because it's cliche. Rollie on my wrist, Patek on my wrist, chain on my neck, money. You know what I mean?
So it's the depth of breath.
Yeah, it's all about the depth. So it's not that I don't like cliches, I guess, but it's just how the cliche is done. Because everything has already been done, it's just about how you do it. It's awesome.
I feel like as an artist, there's a pressure to find and come up with expressing yourself in a way that's not cliche. Like, and so more so than how you interact with cliches, you're looking at something that you're creating and you see how it's been done these times. Like, what do you have to give? And that's kind of the question. Well, not like, I know what you have to give, you have a lot to give, but I think that's kind of like the thought process in your mind.
Well, again, that idea of being an artist, and it's hard to not make cliches, translate back to Sonnet 1, Taking Design, where I'm looking for peace of mind. Like I said, like I'm very prideful about my art. And if I find that my art is just a cliche, like I'm trying to come up with new inventive ways to draw things. So like basically how I learned to draw was I would like watch videos on a person drawing something, I would just copy. So I would just trace stuff like without a tracer. You know what I mean? So that's how I learned to draw. So I'm not really good at like, I can't just look at a crowd or a person and draw them like, well actually I could do that. But from memory is what I mean, like from memory. So not without looking at an image. But I can draw things from looking at an image. But to me, that's kind of cliche. Like that's very one-dimensional. So I struggle to come up with new ways to create art, and that's how it translates back to Taking Design. Once again, it's all these, it's going full circle pretty much. So to explain the word vengeance, notice I didn't say revolution, Rochon, or revolution is coming. I said vengeance is coming. That changes the tone completely. And that is the idea that the lower class will come up and eat the upper class. They will rebel against the upper class eventually. After 400 years of oppression, something's gonna snap. Now, in the midst of the times that we're in, maybe a couple months ago, a couple years ago, I would definitely say something's gonna snap. This coronavirus thing looks like it's gonna end us all. So I don't really know. But yeah, so something's gonna snap sometime. And that's why I said vengeance does go strong. You don't just 400 years and nothing happens. You know what I mean? Like it's not just gonna be a revolution of peace, I don't think.
Well, I mean, when vengeance means that you're getting back at someone.
That's the explanation of you kill our brothers fast. From the past, imagine yourself upon the older Nile. That's ancient Egypt, the Nile River. So imagine yourself in Egypt. Foreigners come down, they're looking at everything, and they decide to enslave the people. They decide to kill the people, rape the people, destroy their family history, their ancestry lines, all that. And then translate that, take them to America, 400 years of oppression. There will be vengeance for that eventually, sometime. I don't believe it's just going to be a peaceful resolution, because as humans, like, we act irrational. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we don't just do everything like, oh, you know what, no problem, forget about it. No, I don't think that's gonna happen. So, yes, that's the idea behind it. So now we're gonna move into the last sonnet. This one has a lighter tone to it. This is simply a homage to my parents. So, I'm just gonna get into this one. As I mature, my love does grow further for the designers. Their lives I admire. To the Queen, I must thank you for having faith in me. Oh, did I just say that loud? To the Queen, your love sets my soul ablaze. I must thank you for always having faith in me. There is no poem I could say that repays the life you gave, the goddess you display. To the door of life, your love is a key. To the King, your son I am, and it shows. If you left for my life, I would not care. Your blueprint is in me like Python code, and through my body, your strong spirit flows. I love you. Always will I be your heir. Blessed am I with them. Their love does not rest. Both parents, I have simply put the best. Floor is open. Thoughts? Comments? Tatiana?
Why didn't you do one without your sister?
You'll get one eventually. Maybe it's as I mature. So as I mature, my love does go further for the annoying little siblings.
Yeah.
So you guys get one. I'll get one eventually. That's George.
I liked how you looked at each one of your parents when you were reading it.
So this poem, or this sonnet, as I told you before, sonnets come in many different forms. This form, there's usually two main forms, Italian and English. So the Italian is split into two parts, the octave and the sestet. And the octave is in A, B, A, B, A, B, A, B. And then the sestet is C, D, C, D, C, D, C, D. And then the couplet with a different rhyme scheme at the end. So that's Italian. It's like one rhyme scheme, second rhyme scheme, third rhyme scheme. English has 4 different rhyme schemes. So there's 1 quatrain, 2 quatrain, 3 quatrain, couplet. And each one has a different rhyme scheme. So for this sonnet, I had to create my own version or variation of a sonnet. So what I did was I opened the sonnet and ended the sonnet with a couplet. So the opening couplet, as I mature, my love does go further for the designers. Their lives I admire. And the ending couplet, with them, or their love does not rest with them, whatever it was. The opening couplet and the ending couplet. So those take up 4 lines. This leaves 10 lines, which I created this so I can each give them 5 lines equally, like a verse. And so the different verses are signaled by the phrase "to the Queen" and "to the King." So I created that version so I could equally give them both love. So yeah, that's how I did it.
So I don't know a lot about coding, but
Oh,
was there
yeah.
anything about Python that you were like, this kind of rings true, or did it fit nice? And
You know what Python is?
Both.
Okay.
Yeah, a little bit.
So, for those of you that don't know, Python is like a coding software. It's software, right?
It's coding.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's like a coding software. So, I came up with this because I was like, all right, your blueprint is in me like, I can't remember what I said before, but whatever I said before didn't fit in the meter once again. So I have to go look at some random reference that nobody understands to fit in the meter. But I was listening to a Childish Gambino freestyle that he was giving on Hot 97, and he said, I don't remember what he said, but I remember he said something about code, and he said Python. I was like, what's Python? And then, so I went to the lyrics, and went to genius.com, clicked on the lyric. Oh, Python is a coding software, so I could say, this is in me code with Python. So then it fits in the meter, it fits in the rhyme scheme. That's how hard it is to make a sonnet. So yeah. You know, yeah.
I just wanted to say, Joel, that I appreciate the irony for me in the title of the sonnet,
Yeah.
the homage to your parents. It says, as I mature, and as I sat there reading along and listening, I thought, well, this is a 16-year-old. And I am so floored by the fact that you named it as I mature, but the thoughts you are able to express at 16 in an homage to your parents just sets my mind actually afire with what is possibly to come from you as you really continue to mature. So I just want to say how proud I am, because I remember my years of, because what my thought was, you know, I'm just beginning to really, maybe the last 10, 15, 20 years, appreciate the feelings you're able to express for your parents at 16. I'm just really beginning to have those depths, that depth of understanding for what the sacrifices of what my parents have done for me. And I'm just so proud of you for being able to express that as you mature at 16.
Go ahead and thank the parents that raised me, because I can't express these feelings if they don't put it in me to be able to express. And listening to old hip hop as well, like that song that I referenced at the beginning, "You Must Love Me" by Jay-Z. Not a lot of 14-year-olds listen to Jay-Z, but I was listening to Jay-Z at 14. That's a song about his love for, I think, his sister. I'm pretty sure that's a song about his love for his sister. And yeah, so just that goes again with the thing of knowledge. The more knowledge you have, the more understanding you can have of your surroundings. And if, not to say that your knowledge level is low, but if you don't understand your surroundings, sometimes you take for granted what you have. And I don't want to take for granted what I have. So that's why I felt that way.
And can I want to say exactly what she was saying, and that is, I didn't understand at 16 to appreciate my parents. I didn't know to appreciate my parents the way to express it. So that is pretty impressive. But also, even when it comes to hip hop, I gotta say, you have taught me so much. I grew up with the beginning of hip hop, your father and I never liked it. I never got into it. You know, by the time I got 19, I gave my life to the Lord, so I didn't like music at all. You know, because I was trying to live safe and stay away from the world and all of that. So I never really got into hip hop music. And part of the reason, because in the 80s, you know, you had the whole gangster rap. So I tried to push away from that because I was the Christian who stayed away from it. But I gotta say, you, Manny as well, but you especially, have really opened my eyes to the beauty behind hip hop music. Not just the beauty, but the poetry, the intelligence behind. Even the gangster rap has some intelligence behind it, but we're so turned off by the language and the wording. You know, even when you talking about Tupac, I'm amazed. I grew up with Tupac, and I didn't know all of this. You know, we just automatically throw him into a stereotype, and that's not who he was, and that's not what hip hop music is. So I appreciate all that you taught me regarding music.
Yeah, hip hop is like, it takes an open mind to listen to it. I understand why people don't listen to it, because it takes an open mind to really listen to it. It can take a closed mind too. You don't want to hear people talk about how happy they are and in love. So it can take a closed mind too. But to accept and understand the skill it takes to write these types of things takes open mind. I know me and Hayden, Hayden was watching Straight Outta Compton just a couple weeks ago. We were in the car listening to Eazy-E's, what song is that? Boys in the Hood. And as I'm sitting there listening, explaining, I'm like, this is basically he's just taking you through a day in the ghetto, and he's doing it through rhyme and meter and tone. And that's important for people so you can spread awareness, even if he didn't mean for it to spread awareness. It still spreads awareness of taking yourself through a day in the ghetto, and he's able to do it so eloquently through the use of rhyme and meter. So it does take over mind. Anybody else? I don't know, babies in here. Love babies. I'm just playing. Oh, Ms. Kim?
This has been awesome. When we first rode out to go take your pictures and you had no idea basically what your sonnets were gonna be, and you knew where basically it was gonna be about you, but I am just blown away by your words, your commitment. Not really your commitment, because I remember when you were 5 and you wanted to do karate and you watched Bruce Lee, and you told me you had to do push-ups by knowing all the presidents. And I came back a week later and you knew all the presidents and could do the push-ups. And I was just like, I admire that about you, and I look forward to seeing you grow, and I think the knowledge that you have, you can connect to people of, kids and explain to them the value of things. And I think I'm starting to understand more why you don't like cliche. Because it's like off the cuff, tossed aside, just used over and over again. But you put thought, and you take time, and you sit with art, and that's what art is. Sometimes you just have to sit with it to understand it and experience it, and you're way beyond your years.
Thank you.
You are.
I don't like. I don't like doing things rushed at all. Like, I like to sit, especially whether it be art or a skill I'm trying to develop. Like, I don't like just doing things like sporadically.
Mm-hmm.
So everything I do it with a purpose, and I do it with an idea and a plan for it to be the best that I can create. But yeah, so close. I did this piece of art as part of senior project. So at my school, Fraser Middle College, every single senior student is required to create a project that lasts an entire year, and at the end of it, they have to have a product that teachers grade. So you can do anything as long as you can justify it because you have to write research documents and questions and all types of stuff that I don't like to do. But so as long as you can justify it, you can do anything. However, I don't want this piece of art to be seen as a stipulation of senior project. This is first and foremost my art, not my senior project. So none of this would have been possible without my brilliant mentor, Dr. Margaret Oates. I don't believe she's here right now. I don't know why, but none of this would have been possible without her. She is the most brilliant professor I've ever met of all time. She's the greatest professor of all time. Actually, in 2012, she was featured on the Princeton Review's 300 top professors in the U.S. So she's like phenomenal. I didn't even know that a person could have that much information in their brain. Like, I could ask her about like a specific day in like 12th century England, and she could tell me about it. So none of this would have been possible for her without her. Shout out to Ms. Schuler and Ms. Vernon for teaching me about sonnets and about Shakespeare. Shout out Ms. Griner, Ms. Lehman, Ms. Cruel, Ms. Glasso, and all the teachers who helped me to get through senior project and supported my ideas and helped me understand things. And shout out to all the students who took pictures of my poster, put me in a group chat, and then made fun of me. Shout out to them. Your hate inspires me. Shout out to the students who supported my ideas as well. You also inspired me. Shout out to my mom and dad for being the best people created. And shout out to hip hop. Shout out to Shakespeare. This is I've been Joel Houston. This was American Griot. Thank you.
In the back, there are how many books left? I think there are about 9. So if you have a book and he hasn't signed it for you, he will be back there signing books. If you want to order the books, you can. So they're on the table back there for $15. You can